Old Mrs. Wilson said, "Maybe the phone is out of power, please try again later." "Okay." Wendy was about to try again later. At this time, the great turmoil that had just occurred in the Wei family had spread throughout Orus Hill. Especially the pharmaceutical industry has directly turned up the stormy sea. Yangjung, the head of the Wei family, and his eldest son, Barena, the future successor of Wei's pharmaceuticals, were driven to Changbai Mountain, and there were even multiple families jointly issued a killing order. Everyone realized that Yangjung and Barena must be someone who has offended someone. But no one knows who they offended. The Wei family dare not talk nonsense, let alone naming him. The news spread more widely and faster, and soon reached Noah. When he found that Barena and his father Yangjung had completely lost power and were now on their way to dig ginseng in Changbai Mountain, he suddenly fell into despair. He told the Wilson family about the incident. The old Mrs. Wilson's blood pressure went up on the spot, and she fell back in a daze. If Noah didn't have eyesight and quick hands, the Lady Wilson might fall into trouble. Noah helped the Lady Wilson onto the sofa and sat down. The Lady Wilson burst into tears, patted her thighs and cried, "God, you are going to kill the Wilson family." Mrs. Wilson's whole body was completely desperate. She didn't want all the hard work of a lifetime to be wasted in the end. Moreover, she has no other real estate in Orus Hill, only this villa. If the Wilson family really goes bankrupt, this villa will definitely be sealed up. At that time, she and her eldest son's family will all be on the streets. She suddenly remembered that the eldest son Noah should still have some money in his hands, so she hurriedly asked him, "Noah, how much money do you have now?" Noah sighed in his heart and blurted out, "Mom, I don't have much money in my hand, just a few million." "Few millions? Why are so few?" The old Mrs. Wilson frowned and asked, "Fredman alone gave Wendy 5 million. You ate and lived at home all these years, and you also received the salary of the Wilson Group. How about your savings?" Noah cried and said, "Mom, how can I save? Although the expenses in life are low these years, I still have to raise Harold, Wendy and Horiah, and I spend money on my own. It is also relatively large, so basically no money has been saved." Old Mrs. Wilson said, "In this way, you first put the money out and invest it in the company. It can be delayed for a while, and then I will find a way to find some investment." Noah hurriedly said, "Mom, I bought all this money for regular financial management. I can't get it out. You don't joke with me." Old Mrs. Wilson snorted coldly and said, "Don't think I don't know your careful thoughts. Don't you just have the savings for yourself?" Noah didn't dare to make a sound. The old Mrs. Wilson asked, "Have you heard a word? There are finished eggs under the covered nest? If the Wilson family falls, do you think you can live well?" Noah nodded hurriedly and said, "Mom, you are right, but I really save my money regularly." "How about regular?" Mrs. Wilson said coldly, "It's not that I haven't saved money. Regular financial management can be withdrawn in advance. It is nothing more than loss of interest." In this situation, you still think about regular financial management. Interest? I'll give you 1 day, quickly take the money out, put it in the company account, and then I will communicate with a few creditors to see if I can make an installment repayment. It is best to get us time to breathe for a year or two. These years, it is also very troublesome for creditors to collect debts. Therefore, sometimes if the debtor has a good attitude and can clearly give an installment repayment method, and can pay a little first, most creditors will agree to installment repayment. What the old Mrs. Wilson wanted was to use Noah's millions to stabilize the remaining creditors, and then buy herself some time. Otherwise, the villa may be sealed up next month. Noah was 10,000 unwilling in his heart. He knows that the Wilson family is now a bottomless pit, and he doesn't want to put money into it. But since his mother asked so strongly, he can only nod his head, pretend to agree, and say, "Don't worry, I'll wait with Horiah. Go to the bank and withdraw the money from financial management and transfer it to the company's account." Old Mrs. Wilson was slightly satisfied, and she said, "I guess you have at least 10 million in cash, so let's put 8 million in the company's account first, not more. Noah cursed secretly in his heart. The Lady Wilson's appetite is really big enough, presuming that he has 10 million, and she wants 8? This money, he will not give a cent. Thinking of this, he promised in face, while quietly winking at Horiah. After agreeing to come down, Noah said to the Lady Wilson, "Mom, Horiah and I are going to bank now. You can wait a while at home." Mrs. Wilson nodded in satisfaction. "Go and come back quickly." Noah took Horiah out of the house. Horiah couldn't wait to ask, "Are you crazy? Why promise the Lady Wilson to give her 8 million? We only have 15 millions in total." "I'm not crazy," Noah said hurriedly. "Promise to my mother is just a slow down. Let's spend the money quickly so she won't worry about it anymore. It's best to find a good house today and buy it." Horiah asked in surprise, "Buy now?" "Yes," Noah said. "Didn't my mother think that I have 10 million? Then let's use 10 million to buy a house, and then throw the house purchase contract in front of her and tell her that she has the money to buy a house. What?" Horiah suddenly smiled, and blurted out, "Okay, always do it, I really have you. Come. Let's go to the real estate now."